You want to hear my story? All right, kid, sit down. But don't expect no Hollywood bullshit. Name's Daniel O'Shea, Danny to anyone who knew me back then, 78 years old now. Living out my days in a shitty apartment in Brooklyn, New York, May 2025. Got a bum leg, a cough that won't quit, and a head full of ghosts from a life I ain't proud of. I'm Irish, born and bred in Bay Ridge, but I ran with the Italians, the Gambino crew, back in the 70s and 80s, doing things I can't wash off my hands. You want to know how an Irish Mick like me got in with the Guineas, lived their life, survived their world? It's a story of blood, betrayal, and keeping your mouth shut, 'cause that's what kept me breathing. This ain't no glory tale, it's raw, ugly, and it's mine. I came up in Bay Ridge, 47, third of 5 kids, Irish as whiskey, in a 2-room flat on 68th Street. Pop was a dock worker, drunk half the time. Mama prayed rosaries to keep us fed. Bay Ridge was Irish and Italian, working class, fists flying over who owned the block. By 15, I was running with the O'Malley boys, stealing crates off trucks, scrapping with Italian kids from Bensonhurst. We weren't no saints. Broke noses, swiped tires, sold smokes to corner stores. But the Italians, they had the real game. Organized, sharp. Families like the Gambinos raking in cash from bookies, loans, unions. I was a punk, hungry, and I wanted in. Irish crews like the Kellys were small-time sloppy. The Italians were the big leagues, and I was sick of eating scraps. First taste came in '65. I was 18, working as a runner for Tommy Rizzi, a low-level Gambino guy who ran numbers in Sunset Park. Tommy was all right Sicilian, liked my guts 'cause I didn't flinch when his boys got rough. But the Italians didn't trust micks like me, called us potato eaters, said we were good for muscle, not brains. I'd drop cash at their social club on 18th Avenue, hear him whisper, "Watch the Irish kid, he'll snitch." Snitch? I kept my mouth shut tighter than a drum, but being Irish meant I was always proving myself. One night, 66, Tommy's crew got jumped by a Puerto Rican gang trying to muscle in. I was there, 19, no gun, just a pipe. When the fists flew, I cracked a guy's skull, blood spraying, kept Tommy's bag of cash safe. He patted my shoulder, said, "Good kid, Danny." That's when I knew. I was in, but I'd always be the Mick, never one of them. By 70, I was 23, a Gambino associate, not maid. Italians didn't make Irish, but trusted enough to run errands. I collected debts, drove for hijacks, broke knees when told. The crew was under Frankie Bones Caruso, a capo in Bay Ridge, mean bastard with a gold pinky ring. Frankie liked me, said I hit like a truck, but he'd joke, "Danny, you're too Irish to think straight." Too Irish. That was the line. Italians ran the show, we were the dogs they let eat. I'd walk into their clubs, smell cigars and marinara, hear them talk in Italian, knowing I'd never sit at their table. Racism? Hell yeah, it was there. Subtle but sharp. Every Mick jab, every time they checked my work twice, reminded me I wasn't blood. The streets were a jungle. Bay Ridge was Gambino turf, but we scrapped with everybody. Irish Kellys, black gangs from Bed-Stuy, Puerto Ricans pushing dope. I was muscle, so I took the hits. In '71, I was 24, collecting from a bookie who owed Frankie $5,000. Guy pulled a knife, white guy, Irish like me, said, "Fuck your guineas." I didn't talk. Smashed his face, broke his wrist, blood pooling on the bar floor. Frankie got his money, but I got a busted lip and a cracked rib. That's the life. Hurt or be hurt. No in between. Cops? They were in our pocket, but they'd still shake me down, saying, "O'Shea, you're just a Mick thug." Thug. I was 24, making $500 a week, more than Pop ever saw, but to them, I was trash. Home was a room above a bar on 3rd Avenue, shared with my brother Tommy, 22, who ran bets for the Kellys. Mama was still praying for us. Pop dead from drink in '68. I'd visit her Sundays, eat her stew, lie about my work. She knew, though. Her eyes said it. Tommy got it worse. Irish crews were brutal, less disciplined than Italians. In '72, he got jumped by Kelly's own guys, thought he skimmed cash. They broke his nose, left him bleeding in an alley. I wanted to kill him, but Frankie said, "Stay out, Danny. It's Irish shit." Irish shit. That's how they saw us. Disposable, good for dirty work, never equal. I patched Tommy up, kept him close, but the life was eating us both. The worst came in '73. I was 26, driving for a hijack. Truck full of cigarettes, $20,000 haul. We hit it clean, me and two of Frankie's boys. But a black crew from Fort Greene ambushed us, wanting a cut. Guns came out, bullets flying. I dove behind a crate, my pipe no match. One of Frankie's guys, Vinny, took a slug in the leg, screaming. I dragged him to the van, floored it, blood soaking the seat. Frankie got his take, but Vinny's cousin, a maid guy, blamed me, said, "Fucking Mick fucked up." They roughed me up, punched my ribs, cracked my jaw, saying I should have fought harder. I took it, didn't talk back, 'cause talking meant dying. That's when I learned. Irish in the Italian mob? You're a tool, not a brother. And the racism ain't just words, it's blood. That's my early years, kid, the '70s, when I was young, dumb, and tough. I survived because I kept my head down, took the hits, stayed loyal. But the scars piled up. Every mix slur, every fist, every time I proved myself only to get spit on. I'm 78 now, coughing my lungs out, but I'm here telling you this, because it's all I got left. Ain't proud, ain't ashamed, just alive, and that's enough. You're back for more, huh? Guess you got a stomach for the ugly stuff. I'm Danny O'Shea, 78 years old, holed up in this crummy Brooklyn apartment, May 2025, coughing my lungs out and living with ghosts from a life that ain't worth bragging about. I told you about the '70s, coming up Irish in Bay Ridge, running with the Gambino crew, taking punches and proving myself to Italians who called me Mick like it was a curse. I was their muscle, collecting debts, busting heads, always the outsider because my blood wasn't Sicilian. The '80s? They were a different beast, bloodier, meaner, and the racism in the mob cut deeper, like a knife you don't see coming. This is my story, kid. Raw as the pavement I bled on, so buckle up. By '80, I was 33, still an associate for Frankie Bones Caruso's crew, still not made. Italians didn't make mix, no matter how much blood you spilled. I was living in a walk-up on 4th Avenue, Bay Ridge, with my brother Tommy, 27, who was still running bets for the Kellys, Irish small-timers. The Gambinos were my world. Frankie's crew ran bookies, loans, hijacks, and half the docks in Brooklyn. I was good at the rough stuff, shaking down deadbeats, guarding cash drops, driving for hits I didn't ask about. But being Irish was a chain. Every job I had to prove I wasn't soft, wasn't a snitch. Italians would say, "Danny, you're all right, but you're still a potato eater." They'd laugh, but their eyes said, I'd never be one of them. That's the mob. Blood's thicker than loyalty, and mine was the wrong kind. Work was a meat grinder. In '81, I was collecting for Frankie, 10 grand from a bar owner on 86th Street who was late. Guy was white, Polish, thought he could stiff us. I walked in, pipe in my coat, said, "Pay up." He pulled a bat, swung at my head. I ducked, cracked his knee with the pipe, blood seeping through his jeans. He paid, crying, but Frankie's right hand, Vinny Knuckles Russo, chewed me out, said I was too rough for an Irish thug. Too rough? Italians would do worse, but I was the problem. Later that year, I drove for a hijack, liquor truck, $30,000 haul. We pulled it off, but Vinny's cousin, a maid guy, shorted my cut, said, "Mix don't need that much." I was 34, risking my neck, and got $500 while they pocketed thousands. That's the game. Italians eat, Irish get scraps. The streets were a slaughterhouse. Bay Ridge was Gambino turf, but we clashed with everybody. Kelly's trying to muscle in, black crews from Bed-Stuy pushing dope, Colombians moving coke. I was Frankie's fist, so I took the hits. In '82, I was 35, guarding a cash drop in Red Hook when a Kelly crew, Irish like me, ambushed us. They wanted the bag, $15,000. Knives came out, fists flew. I cracked a guy's jaw, blood spraying, but took a blade to my arm, scar I still got. We kept the cash, but Frankie blamed me, said, "You mix always fuck up." Blamed me, not his Italian guy who froze. I took the heat, 'cause arguing meant a bullet. Cops were no help. Half were on our payroll, but they'd still rough me up, call me Irish trash, knowing I couldn't swing back. Home was a war zone, too. Tommy was deep with the Kellys, running numbers, but they were reckless. Drunk fights, botched jobs. In '83, he got pinched for bookmaking. Did 6 months in Rikers. I bailed him, $2,000, scraping every dime. But the Kellys cut him loose, said he was weak. Weak? Tommy took a beating for him, but Irish crews ate their own. Mama, still praying in Bay Ridge, begged me to quit, said, "Danny, you're gonna end up dead." I lied, said I was just driving trucks, but she saw the bruises, the blood on my shirt. My sister, Katie, 30, was working as a barmaid. Got hassled by Italian wise guys who'd grab her, say, "Irish girls are easy." I wanted to gut them, but they were connected, so I swallowed it, told her to quit. She didn't. She needed the cash. That's the life. Everybody bleeds, nobody wins. The worst was '84. I was 37, running a loan shark book for Frankie, $50,000 float. A Puerto Rican dealer owed $8 grand, tried to skip. I tracked him to a warehouse in Greenpoint, went in with Vinny. Guy pulled a gun, shot wild, bullet grazing my shoulder, blood soaking my jacket. I tackled him, broke his arm, got the cash, but Vinny took a slug in the thigh, screaming. I dragged him out, drove to a dock, saved his ass. Frankie got his money, but his consigliere, Sal, a maid guy, pinned it on me, said, "This Mick fucked the job." They worked me over, kicked my ribs, busted my nose, saying I was careless. Careless? I saved Vinny, but I was Irish, so I was the dog to kick. Sal cut me out of the next job. Gave it to an Italian kid, 20, no experience. I took it, 'cause talking back meant a shallow grave. That's when I knew. Don't matter how much you bleed for 'em, you're never family. The '80s were my prime, kid, when I was tough, fast, and dumb enough to think I could climb. I survived 'cause I was meaner than the streets, kept my mouth shut, took the slurs, Mick, potato eater, like they were nothing. But they weren't nothing. Every jab, every beating, every job I got shorted 'cause I wasn't Italian. It built a fire in me, one I couldn't put out. I'm 78 now, hacking up my past, but I'm here, telling you this 'cause it's all I got. Ain't no pride in it, just truth, raw as the blood I left on those streets. You're still hanging in, wanting more of this mess? All right, kid, I'll keep spilling it, but it's gonna get uglier. I'm Danny O'Shea, 78 years old, rotten in this Brooklyn dump, May 2025, my leg shot and my lungs hacking up the past. I told you about the '70s, coming up Irish in Bay Ridge, clawing my way into the Gambino crew, taking their mixed slurs and fists to prove I wasn't soft. The '80s were bloodier, running loans and hijacks for Frankie Bones Caruso, getting beat for being the wrong blood. Always the dog they kicked. The '90s? That's when the game got tighter, the feds got closer, and the Italians' racism cut so deep I thought I'd bleed out. This is my story, raw as the asphalt I fought on, so brace yourself. By '90, I was 43, still an associate in the Gambino family, still not made. Italians didn't trust Mix to be blood, no matter how many heads you cracked. Frankie was gone, whacked in '88 over a beef with the Lucchese crew, and I was under Tony Three Fingers Moretti, a new capo, cold as ice, who ran Bay Ridge like a king. Tony liked my work, collections, shakedowns, the occasional hit, but he'd say, "Danny, you're a good dog, but you're Irish." Dog. That's what I was to him, a mutt they let eat scraps. I was living in a better place now. A 2-bedroom on 5th Avenue, Bay Ridge, with my girl Maureen, 35, a bartender who knew my life but didn't ask. My brother Tommy was out of the game, working as a janitor after Rikers broke him. but still drinking heavy. Mama was praying harder, her heart weak, begging me to quit. I couldn't. $1,000 a week, cash, was more than any dock job, and I was too deep. The mob was changing. The feds were sniffing. Rico busts hitting families hard, wires everywhere. Tony's crew was paranoid, eyes on everyone, especially me. "Mix talk," they'd say, checking my drops twice like I'd rat. Talk? I kept my mouth shut tighter than a vault, but being Irish meant I was always suspect. In '91, I was running a numbers racket, $20,000 a week through bars in Sunset Park. A white bookie, Polish guy, skimmed $5,000, thought he could play us. I went in, pipe in hand, broke his fingers, blood dripping on the floor. He paid, screaming, but Tony's guy, Vinny Knuckles Russo, still alive and meaner, said, "You fucked up, Mick. Too messy." Messy? Italians do worse, but I got a week's cut docked, $500, because I wasn't blood. That's the mob. Italians rule, Irish pay. The streets were a graveyard. Bay Ridge was still Gambino turf, but the '90s brought new players. Russian crews in Brighton Beach, Albanian gangs pushing coke, black dealers from Flatbush. I was Tony's enforcer, so I ate the pain. In '92, I was 45, guarding a dope stash in Canarsie when a Russian crew hit us, wanting a piece. Knives flashed, shots rang out. I took a blade to my thigh, blood soaking my jeans, but cracked a guy's skull with my pipe, kept the stash. Tony got his cut, but his consigliere, Sal, chewed me out, said, "Mick, you let him get too close." Let him? I saved the load, but Sal slapped me hard, said, "Don't fuck up again." I took it, because fighting back meant a bullet. Cops were tighter now, not all on the take, and they'd pull me over, saying, "O'Shea, you Irish scum, we're watching." Scum. I was 45, making Tony rich, but to them, I was a thug. Home was no refuge. Maureen stuck by me, but the life was killing her. Late nights, blood on my clothes, cops at our door. In '93, she got pregnant, and I swore I'd go straight, but the mob don't let you walk. Tommy was a mess, drinking himself stupid, fighting in bars. In '94, he got jumped by a white crew, not even mob, just drunks who hated Irish. Broke his jaw, left him in a gutter. I paid his hospital $3,000 scraping cash, but he never bounced back, his eyes empty. Mama, 68, had a stroke in '95, died in her sleep. I buried her crying at her grave, knowing I broke her heart. My sister Katie moved to Jersey, said, "Danny, you're poison." She wasn't wrong. The life was a plague, and I was infected. The worst hit in '96. I was 49, running a loan shark book for Tony, $100,000 float. A black dealer in Coney Island owed 10 grand, tried to run. I went with Vinny, found him in a basement, cards on the table. He pulled a gun, shot Vinny in the shoulder, blood spraying. I tackled him, smashed his face, gun skidding across the floor. Vinny lived, but Tony's crew turned on me, said, "Mick, you fucked the drop." Fucked it? I saved Vinny's ass, but Sal and two made guys worked me over, kicked my ribs, broke my nose, said, "You're done, Irish. Done." They cut me out, gave my book to an Italian kid, 25, no experience. I was 49, 20 years in, and they tossed me like garbage. Tony let it happen, said, "You're lucky you're breathing." Lucky. My thigh scar throbbed, my ribs screamed, and I knew Irish blood meant I'd always be the fall guy. The '90s broke me, kid. I survived because I was tougher than the streets, meaner than the Italians who spit on me. But the racism, the Mick jabs, the shorted cuts, the beatings for being the wrong blood, it wasn't just words, it was a chain holding me down. I'm 78 now, coughing up my sins, but I'm telling you this because it's my truth, raw as the knuckles I busted on those streets. Ain't no glory, just scars, and I carry 'em all. You're still here waiting for the end? Gotta hand it to you, kid. You got guts for sticking with this mess. I'm Danny O'Shea, 78 years old, sitting in this Brooklyn hole, May 2025. my leg useless, my lungs burning, and my head full of ghosts that don't let me sleep. I told you about the 70s, scrapping my way into the Gambino crew, an Irish Mick proving myself to Italians who spat potato eater like it was poison. The 80s were bloodier, running loans and hijacks for Frankie Bones, taking beatings for not being Sicilian. The 90s damn near broke me. Feds closing in, Tony 3 Fingers kicking me out for being the wrong blood, leaving me with nothing but scars. The 2000s, that's when the game spit me out and I had to figure out how to live with what I'd done. This is my last chapter, raw as the blood I spilled, so listen up, 'cause it's all I got left. By 2000, I was 53, a ghost in Bay Ridge, cut loose from the Gambinos after Sal and his maid boys worked me over in '96. I wasn't in the life no more, but the life don't let you go. I was living in a one-room dump on 7th Avenue, working as a bouncer at a dive bar on 86th Street, $10 an hour, breaking up drunk fights for peanuts. Maureen, my girl, was gone, left in '97. Took our kid, a daughter I ain't seen since, said, "Danny, you're a curse." She wasn't wrong. My brother Tommy was a wreck, drinking himself dead, living in a flop house after his jaw got busted in '94. My sister Katie was in Jersey, cut me off, said I was poison. Mama was dead, buried in '95, her prayers unanswered. I was alone, scarred up, thigh, arm, ribs, every mark a reminder of the Italians who used me like a dog and tossed me when I wasn't needed. The racism didn't stop, even out of the mob. At the bar, white drunks would call me Mick Trash, thinking I was just some Irish bum. Cops, knowing my past, hassled me. Officer Malone, white, 40s, stopped me weekly saying, "O'Shea, you're still a thug." Thug. I was 53, bouncing for rent and still their scapegoat. In '01, I got a job driving a delivery truck, hauling crates for a warehouse in Red Hook. Thought it'd be clean. It wasn't. The boss, white Italian, knew my Gambino days, called me Irish scum, docked my pay for slacking when I was faster than his guys. One time, '02, a white coworker, big guy, ex-con, shoved me into a pallet, said, "Mix don't belong here." My ribs ached from old breaks, but I didn't swing. Needed the job. That's the life, out of the mob. But the world still saw me as less. The streets were a battlefield. Bay Ridge was changing. Gentrifiers moving in. Old mob haunts turned into coffee shops. But the hate stayed. In '03, I was 56, walking home from a shift when 3 white kids, 20s, drunk, jumped me on 4th Avenue. "Fucking Irish drunk!" one yelled, swinging a bottle, hitting my shoulder. I fought back, cracked one's nose, blood spraying, but took a fist to my jaw, went down hard. A black neighbor, Miss Lena, shouted, "Scared him off." I limped home, blood in my mouth, didn't call cops, knew they'd pin it on me. My shoulder's been stiff since, a twinge that don't quit. Family was all I had, but it was falling apart. Tommy was dying slow, liver shot from booze. In '04, he got pneumonia, passed in a hospital bed, 51, no one but me at his side. I buried him next to Mama, crying for the brother I couldn't save. Katie wouldn't come, said, "You killed him, Danny." Me. The mob killed him, but I carried the blame. I sent money to Maureen's sister, hoping it'd reach my daughter, but got no reply. I was 57, alone, praying to a God I didn't believe in, asking for a way out. Asterisk, asterisk, culmination, asterisk, asterisk. The end came in '05. I was 58, still driving trucks, when the feds nabbed Tony's crew. Rico sting, wires, the works. They hauled me in, thinking I'd talk 'cause I was Irish, the weak link. Agents, white suits, said, "O'Shea, give us Moretti or you're done." Done? I'd been done for years, but I didn't talk. Snitches don't live. They leaned hard, held me a week, no charges, just pressure. Tony's boys in jail thought I ratted 'cause I was out. In '06, 2 of them, low-level Italians, not even made, found me at the bar, dragged me to an alley, worked me over, kicked my ribs, broke my leg, said, "Mick, you're dead if you talk." I didn't talk, never would, but they didn't care. Irish blood made me. The traitor. I crawled home, legs shattered, spent 6 months hobbling, no job, no cash. That's when I quit the streets, quit the life. I was 59, broken but alive, because I was tougher than their hate. The years after, I worked odd jobs, janitor, delivery, whatever paid. Never went back to Bay Ridge, stayed in Brooklyn, hid from the past. The racism didn't stop. Every Mick jab, every cop stare, every boss who saw me as trash. But I lived for Mama's prayers, for Tommy's memory, for the daughter I'll never know. I'm 78 now, coughing up my sins, but I'm here telling you this, 'cause it's my truth. Every fist, every slur, every job I did for Italians who spit on me. Share it, carry it, let it cut through the dark, 'cause I'm Danny O'Shea, Irish to the bone, and I'm still standing, scars and all. That's my story, raw as the streets that made me.